Okay, hi there. I am going to take a seat here and hope my camera doesn't move too far. What I'm going to show you today is how to make some simple 4x3 or 3x4 designer series paper cards. So these cards are very simple. I'm just going to show you some older samples that I have. This paper here is not available for retail purchase. It was a celebration reward, but I just wanted to show you just very simply the designer series paper is 3 inches by 4 on each of these, and it has a layer underneath that is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then it's got some embellishments, of course, the little words, and then you can do ribbon, but that is really just optional. So I'm going to show you, this is the Painted Christmas 12 by 12 paper. So I originally decided to start doing cards like this because it uses up a whole sheet of designer series paper. So with these, I'm just going to pull these out. Of course, this is a really pretty design. The one on the back is pretty as well, but we're only going to be using one side of it. I just wanted to kind of show you the designs that are in here. This is a real nice design. And then on the back, I probably wouldn't use that. I'd probably use this side. It just seems a lot more colorful to me. Again, you've got one of those nice, bright, colorful patterns here. And there's 2 of every pattern in this double-sided designer series paper. This one's very light. I don't know if you can pick that up very well, but it's like the soft sea foam, really, really light green with the white coming through that. We've got some pine cones here, and I would probably use that instead of this sort of brick border, but hey, whichever one you like best. Here we've got some little pine cones and leaves, which is probably a little more interesting than this side. But again, you'll see as I'm doing these that you can use those in different ways if you want. So this is a really pretty design. I'd probably use it instead of this one. This one just looks a little, it looked like Bubbly Birthday or something to me. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like Christmas bells or jingle bells. But you can see that these papers really aren't directional per se. They don't really say anything on them. They don't have any words or anything that you would need to keep any certain direction. So these are ideal for the 3x4 designer series paper cards. So I'm going to show you just cutting these. And what I mean by directional is if you look at these cards that I showed you before, so the little dots don't have a direction, but on this sample, the designer series paper is there's a definite up and down, right? So when I cut this, you can either go 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches across, or you can go 3 inches in 4 columns. If you have a directional type of paper like this, then you'll want to cut that obviously with your 3 inches on the top and your 4 inches coming down. So as we go along, if we see any more patterns like that, I hope that will make a little bit of sense. So that's the only thing that you really need to do. So the first thing that you're going to do is pick your paper. Like I said, I've chosen this Painted Christmas paper that's 12 by 12. It doesn't matter whether I cut 3 inches across and 4 down or 4 inches across and 3 down. So I'll just run 3 here. And I tend to do these cards in 3s or 4s as far as like multiples at a time. That's just how I am. So I'm going to cut this in 3 inches. And then I will cut 3 4-inch pieces out of this strip. So that's 3 by 4. This one is, and I'm sorry, I think I have my my trimmer out here way off of the screen. That's supposed to be 4, not 3. And yeah, that should do it. So now I have 3 3x4 pieces. So I'm just showing you like one of the very simplest ways to do this first with the 12 by 12. And then I want to show you how you can adjust this if you have 6 by 6 paper. So on that Painted Christmas paper, on the back, you can see it in the catalog, or you can just look on the back of your package. It will list colors that coordinate. So this says Calypso Coral Cherry Cobbler, Crumb Cake, Early Espresso, Evening Evergreen, Garden Green Pear Pizzazz, Real Red, Soft Seafoam, and Soft Succulent. So those are the colors that coordinate. Whenever I make these, if I want to make them quickly and not have to think about the colors too much, because I'm doing 3 cards, or I mean cards, but I'm doing like 3 designs, I want them to have some variance in colors. So I usually pick 3 colors that will go along with the sheet of cardstock. And for this one, I picked the Soft Succulent. That'll go nicely. Cherry Cobbler. And this is Early Espresso. Now, you could like mix and match these colors together. Like you could have the Cherry Cobbler on the Soft Succulent, or on the Early Espresso, or, you know, this way. But what I like to do is, these are my color layers that are behind the Designer Series paper. So I like to focus on that for the color, and then use a neutral for the background. So our Painted Christmas paper mentioned crumb cake. So this, I have the crumb cake. These are cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored at the 4 1/4 mark. So these are 3 cards. I just want to show you a real quick tip while I'm doing this. This can save you some time when you're cutting. If you take your piece that you know you're going to cut 2 cards out of, we know that we can cut 2 cards out of each 8.5 by 11 sheet, right? So if I know that I want my card to open up, you know, on the side like this, then I will first, before I cut it, I will score it at 4 1/4. Then I don't have to put the 2 individual pieces back in. So if you score once across the whole sheet, then you can put it back in at 5.5. I've got my 5.5 inches down here. So I'll just cut across that. And then you save time because you already scored the whole sheet where you want it, right? The other way, if you want to have cards that are like fold over cards and they have the bend at the top, those are going to get scored at 5.5. So let me score that at 5.5. Am I doing this right? Yes. Okay. So scored at 5.5, and then you're going to cut at 4 1/4. So just depending on which way, this is my 4 1/4, which way you want your cards to go. And then, you know, when you're doing this card, it doesn't have to be just oriented this way. You can do a sideways card this way as well. But if you're just getting a little bit tired of the same old on your card fold, then you can switch that up, and that can be, you know, one of the differences in all the cards that you make too. If you're anything like me, I hate making multiples. So, okay, so I've got my colors set aside that I'm going to do. I've got my card bases. So what I'm going to do is I've got them scored and cut. So I'm just going to go, I like to take a peek when it folds to see if there's one side that kind of overlaps the other. So you can see if this was the front of the card, you wouldn't really necessarily enjoy that little back of it hanging over. So that's going to be the front. And when I score them, I like to score on the back of the card. So another tip is you see that this score line goes down in. So it's, what did you call it? Debossed, maybe, I think is what the word is. When the score is pressing down on that side. On this side, you can see the score is kind of a bump, right? So it's bumped up, so it's embossed, right? You're always going to fold towards the bump, right? So the middle of your card wants to be the bump. So it makes an eensy-beensy little teeny tiny W in there when you do it that way. So a lot of people score on the side that is debossed. You know, it's got that squish down in it. I guess that would be embossed. I never get them straight. But they do it on the wrong side, and it actually hasn't broken down the papers correctly for that side to be used. All right, and then here is my last one. So you can see the bump is on that side. That's going to go in the middle. And it looks like this side is a little bit longer than the other, so that's gonna be my front. I'm going to use my bone folder on the back, right? So this is the backs of all my cards. When I set them down, I set them with the back up, and I'm just going to go over them and crease them one more time. Okay, so then they're nice and flat for stamping, whatever. Okay, so let's put our colors up here. Again, we've got Soft Succulent, Cherry Cobbler, and Early Espresso. And then we have the Designer Series paper we're going to use. If you feel like using one of these sides for it, you know, I'll do that on one of these cards. Go for it. But I think this is the prettier side. So use the side that you think is prettiest. And like I said, the great thing in those 12 by 12 packs is you have two full 12 by 12 sizes of, you know, each of these sheets. So you can use the entire side of two different sheets, and when you're using the 12 by 12 you do the 4 by 3, you get 12 pieces. So that's basically Designer Series paper for 12 cards, and you don't have any left over. And so that's one of the things that I like most about this. When you come to cutting these second layers are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And if you remember, I mentioned like half of this is like 4 1/4. That's like where you're going to cut or fold, score your card to fold. So this makes a really nice, I was gonna say economical, but it's efficient is the word I'm looking for, way to use your paper. So if this is 8 1/2, then going across, this is going to be 4 1/4, this is going to be 4 1/4. So you can just do that 4 1/4 and then do 3 1/4 this way, and then I think that's, what is that, 9 of these layers that you could get out of every 8 1/2 sheet, 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of cardstock. So that's pretty nice as well. Okay, so I'm going to set the card bases aside for just one moment, and we're going to work on these. All we're going to do is stick these Designer Series paper sheets to the different colors of cardstock, and I was looking for my Stampin' Seal. You might like to use the liquid glue. I just hate getting my fingers icky, so you don't have to take a whole lot of time on this, but you want to make sure that like you've got the corners of each side kind of sticking out and doing, you know, this wonky little thing. If you really want, I'm going to do the green on this one just so you can see what that looks like. But if you want to do that straight on, that's totally cool. I think it makes like a very, I don't know, kind of stodgy and formal card. Oops, we got tape boogers on there. So that's just totally up to you. If you like it, then go for it. Okay, so we're going to make that, and then you can just, you know, change the direction that they're sort of angled at. All right, so we've got this, this, and this. Our next step would be to put these on one of the cards. And again, you can make that bottom layer and the sides, you know, line up, but I think it kind of gives it a little more interest if you sort of, you know, have it kind of at an angle, or I think one of them usually ends up being kind of, you know, more or less, you know, if you don't watch out, I guess more or less straight with one of the sheets. So if you kind of find that middle spot right in there where you can do this. And for this one, I like to use you can use the mini glue dots, or for this one, I just like to use the, not glue dots, Stamp Dimensionals. I like to use just like the regular size. And I'll put one in each of the 4 corners. The other thing that you're going to want to choose, once you've chosen your Designer Series paper and you know the coordinating cardstock, then the next thing that you will want to choose is like your embellishments and your sayings. So I chose my sayings first. This is Christmas to Remember. I believe it is one of the sets that's in the Painted Christmas Suite collection in the mini catalog. There's also another set, I believe this is the other set that's in that suite, but it doesn't have any words in it. So this set is really ideal because it's just got all of the greetings in it. So you've got your paper, you've got your greetings, and then you've got your embellishment. There's a lot of different kind of ribbons you can use, and I'll show you some samples that like use this one. This is the white crinkled seam binding, and this is fabulous because you can color this like with an ink pad or with Stampin' Blends, so you can get any kind of color out of this to coordinate with our stuff that you want. Or you could use anything as simple as, like, these are the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. We also have this Simply Elegant trim. And ribbon is a, you know, I'm talking about embellishments, but then also like ribbon if you want it. That's pretty much a, you know, just up to you kind of thing. So I'm going to show one card really quick here with just some ribbon around it. And the only reason that I want to show you this is because before I put this down, I want to put the ribbon over here. And I'm just going to tie it in a knot so I don't need the ribbon to be super long. But I just don't want to adhere this layer until I put the ribbon on if I am doing ribbon. So I'm just going to do, we'll do right over left. Let's see, maybe I want it over here. I'm trying to think of where my saying is going to go. I'll go ahead and do it over here. So we'll do right over left. And then pull them back up. And then this one's going to be the left one. So the left will go over right. So right over left, left over right. And of course I can't do this because I'm running the camcorder here, but, and then that's all you really have to do to get that. Then I'm just going to cut the edges off. I like to use fabric scissors when I cut the ribbon. It just keeps it a lot cleaner because my paper snips usually have some kind of glue or gunk on it. So this one that I used is the Fine Art ribbon. It looks really nice with this crumb cake, and it's just got that simple gold accent. When you're looking for a ribbon to go over the top, you're going to want to make sure that you're not using a color that's going to just kind of blend in. Like if you were to use the crumb cake Baker's Twine or the white Baker's Twine, it wouldn't really show up a lot, but this one does. So that works pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and pull these little stinkers off. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then find my angle that I want to put this on. And then all I have left is the greeting. So when you're looking at your greetings and what greetings you want to use, it can be helpful for you, like if you have a punch. And a trick to figure out if your punch is going to work with your greetings is you can just punch it out of scratch paper. I just punched it out of a piece of scrap grid paper, and then you can hold that over your saying. So have a holly jolly Christmas fits. If we do it this way, then friends like you make this season special fits. May this be a Christmas to remember and cherish. So let's go ahead and pull this one out. And one of the reasons I like this set is because it's got Merry Christmas, but it also has season's greetings. And then the little Merry, love and joy come to you and may it last the whole year through. 'Tis the season. So there are many of these. If you don't like to talk about Christmas in particular, then you don't have to with this set, and you still have plenty to choose from. Okay, another quick tip, and I hope I'm not going to go too far off here, but another quick tip that I wanted to share with you is when you are mounting your stamps, if you see things that you want to have separate, so this says have a holly jolly Christmas. I thought it'd be fun to use the holly jolly part by itself. So I took the have a, and I cut that off, and then I cut the bottom off. You should cut these, especially if you're doing the red rubber, cut them before you put the stickers on, because you don't want to accidentally cut through where the stickers are. So if you cut through the rubber first, and then you lay these down on your index stickers, then you can just go right through and follow the lines that you cut on the stamp to get that separated when you're separating it after you've mounted them onto that sticker. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to use that have a holly jolly Christmas. See, the other thing is I could take out the holly jolly. I can use that by itself. I could say have a, and then you could use, I've cut apart the Merry Christmas. This is super simple to cut apart, right? So I could say have a Merry Christmas, or I could say have a Merry Christmas with the script, right? So I know those are a little bit hard to see, but let me go ahead and get the Merry Christmas out of there for 1 second. And I wanted to just use the holly jolly. So what I found was that I could stamp, oops, on 3/4 inch pieces. The Merry Christmas greeting will work, the season's greetings will work, or you could stamp Merry over and over again, or 'Tis the Season, or if you have that Holly Jolly removed from the middle, then you can stamp that on there. So that's just a 3/4 inch tall scrap piece, and I'm going to go ahead and put this Holly Jolly on here. Again, this will also fit in this little punch, so if you wanted to use that punch, and I can't remember what the name of the punch is offhand, then that, I can't remember if that's the designer label punch, it may be. So I'm going to grab my little saying here, and I'm going to go ahead and just stamp on that little scrap. The color that I used, you could use just black, but Early Espresso is a really nice dark color, and that will go with any of these. So you can use black, you can use a darker color, you can, you know, whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to stamp Holly Jolly on there. And then you can take your paper snips and you can, you know, just do these kind of slanted, or you can cut off a little bit extra off each side, and let's see if that's about even-ish, and then give it some little tails. So I'll just kind of cut into the center, cut into the center, we'll cut into the center, and cut into the center again. So whether you decide to use a paper strip, you know, hand cut it, use a punch, whatever, your next step is going to be putting your greeting on there. I like to try and put it on there where it's kind of overlapping the paper and stuff, because when it's like color on color, it's just not as, doesn't kind of jump out quite as much. And for these, I'll use the same Stampin' Dimensionals, but I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half for this little saying here. Take off the little backings. Now these backings get all over the place and they get tracked all over by your cats and you and everything. If you have like a lint roller that you have in your stamping area, then that's one of the nice little things that you can use for double use, you know, for home and for stamping. I guess I want to make that line up with the ribbon. That'll probably look a little bit better. So that'll be sort of right about there, right? The very last step that I'm going to do, and you can just imagine doing the same thing with these other pieces. The Holiday Rhinestone Basic Jewels are amazing. It has like all these different colors that just seem to work for everything. If nothing else works, this is going to work kind of as a gold color. So what I like to do, I put these on, and whenever you put on like embellishments, if you consider kind of the rule of 3 is sort of where I've heard it, I like to put one kind of like under my ribbon, and then I'll put one the next size up, maybe sort of, we'll say here-ish, and then the tiniest one, and I'm just picking these up with my scissors. You can pick them up with your take your pick tool. Oops, I didn't get that one quite. And then you're going to put like 3 or an odd number, like if there's a bunch of them and you want to put like 5, like you have a bunch of sequins, just pick an odd number, and that'll give you some really good spacing with that. So that's just one sample, so you can imagine that. We could have used like the Season's Greetings or the 'Tis the Season on that, and that would have given us a nice little selection of them. What I did over here is I used them just a little bit different way. This is still 4x3, but you see, instead of a layer of cardstock that's coordinating color underneath it, instead of having that whole layer, this is just a little strip of cardstock. And if you look at it, you can see I've kind of crinkled it. So I'm going to give you a photo tip on that that's going to end up in the event or in the group. And it will show how to make this. It's kind of like looks almost like a faux suede type of thing or something, or faux leather. But to me, it looks kind of like a ribbon. And you can just use your cardstock to make this. And so you can see I didn't even use a punch when I used this layout. So I don't use any extra cardstock. I just stamped right on there. And then instead of the ribbon, I have my little strips of cardstock that I'm using as my ribbon. And all of my pieces are just turned that way. Let me show you another set. This one is with the Tidings and Trimmings designer series paper, and the reason I wanted to show you this is a nice set because it does have the greetings in it, but also it also has some die cuts that go with it, but the sayings all fit in the punch, right? So this one was just a small word, so I just used the punch that way, kind of long ways. And in the background on this, I used I think this is the I can't remember. Is it like the textile or texture? I can't remember the name. I'm so sorry. I will try and put it in the comments. But this is a 3D embossing folder, and I just embossed the front. So I didn't use an extra layer on that or anything. And I used those same holiday rhinestones. You can see that's that white crinkle ribbon I was telling you about. And you can see how I used 3 of those little rhinestones on each one. And the reason that I wanted to show this to you is because I wanted to show you how you can cut your 6x6 paper. When you have 6x6 paper, you can still do the 3x4 designer series paper trick, but what you're going to do is cut this in 3. So it's 6 inches across. So now we've got 3x6, but we want 3x4. So we'll cut them both into 4 inches long here. And then because we're left, because it's 6x6, when you cut at 4 inches, you have 2 inches. So you've got these 2 inch by 3 inch pieces. And what I did with that was on this card, when I went to layer it on the background color, I just laid it down and figured out whether I wanted, see the top side's pretty, it's pretty kind of, I don't know, bland if you'd use the word. I mean, it's still pretty, but it's just not as colorful. So I just lined those up together, and that is making this one whole piece of 3x4 cardstock. So you've seen the easier ways to do these. This is just, you know, simple as you could be. You don't even have to have the ribbon on this if you don't want the ribbon, but I think it makes a real, just gives it a nice little pop. And then you've seen them a little bit more blinged up, right? And then there's the other one here where the greetings are going the other way, and I'll just move these off the table now so you can see these. And they're nothing extremely special. They're really quick and easy. Don't forget your envelopes. One of the biggest things about World Card Making Day is making the cards, but also sending them. So make sure that whatever cards you make today, I chose to make Christmas cards, so probably after this I'm going to get something like, maybe I'll use the hand-penned designer series paper and just make some cards for my friends so that I can pop those in the mail, since these aren't going to go in the mail until Christmas. So we'll wrap up with just this one. And I want to thank Stephanie for letting me be a part of this World Card Making Day presentation. I hope you guys are enjoying the day and getting lots of great ideas. I hope you win Prize Patrol, and we will see you around. Happy stamping.